Welcome everybody. We're glad to see you all here. We are the Go2Albania group, and we are observing and analyzing the life of public spaces in Shkodër, Albania. I'm Ronan Hayes.
I'm Levine.
I'm Eliza Rousseau.
I'm Zachary Serocki.
Think of a public space you enjoy. Is there art in the space? There's probably some story or significance behind those pieces. In Shkodër, an important fixture is the Rosafa Castle. The legend tells of three brothers whose walls collapsed each night until they were told a human sacrifice was needed. One of the brothers' wife accepted her fate. She has to leave one breast, hand, eye, and foot exposed to take care of her infant son, as seen in the middle. Her sacrifice secured the castle, making Rosafa a lasting legend, a lasting symbol of Shkodër's women, embodying courage, loyalty, and sacrifice. We are going to Shkodër to learn more about these public spaces and what they mean to people.
So looking broadly at the urban landscape of Shkodër, Albania, our team is looking to address how the different community areas can be as accessible to people of all different diversities as possible. And what's important for this accessibility and whatnot is to allow residents to gather, to interact with each other, to do shared activities together and whatnot. So we want to increase social interactions in order to create a stronger sense of belonging and identity within this community. And one of the things that will help us do so is to focus on the public art that is seen all throughout Shkodër. And this public art, be it statues or memorials, reflects the shared history of Shkodër, of Albania in general, and therefore will help increase the sense of belonging and identity for the locals within Shkodër.
We're working with Go2Albania, which is a NGO, a non-governmental organization, which essentially means that they're not funded by the government. They're an organization based in Shkodër, Albania, and their goal is to promote the sustainability of Albania's urban planning, tourism, and environment. They're a team of 14 people, experts ranging from engineers and architects to journalists and designers. They work with municipalities, community partners, and other similar organizations. Our job with them is we're given 4 key community areas that we'll be working on, that we'll be observing and analyzing. We'll be working most closely with Eliza Rousseau, who is the CEO and co-founder. She's also an urban planner, and alongside her, we're working with Lirdana Ura, who's an architect. Between the two of them, they have experience, academic and research experience across several countries, such as Albania, Italy, Spain, the US, and more. And we look forward to working with them for the next 7 weeks.
There are 3 main pillars of our project. Public spaces have the unique opportunity to allow for a more social and cultural impact and allow people to come together in a singular space. They also are placed in the middle of an urban environment. And so that entails making new ways for people to move through this urban space and allowing them to have more mental health friendly, more green space areas for people to move through a dense urban environment. These public spaces are often put with public art. These public arts are there to represent the people and the people surrounding the community. The public art has a big impact on people, whether that it's memorializing a communist era figure or something maybe a little bit less meaningful to them. And so this entails, this also changes their social behavior in the space. If something has some deep meaning to them, they might want to go visit, like the Berker Mosque that is in one of our spaces. People might go through that plaza just to get on the way to work, or people might go to pass by one of their religious cornerstones.
Looking at our project goals and objectives, our team's goal is to support Go2Albania in understanding and analyzing the overall role of the public spaces, the public artwork, and the social behavior of our chosen locations within Shkodër. So the 4 you see at the bottom are the different community spaces that Go2Albania has picked up for us. Within each of these spaces, we will be doing a mixed methodology approach where we will be conducting observational studies as well as running semi-structured interviews. The goal of this mixed methodology approach is to gain both quantitative and qualitative analysis on how to improve the quality of life, or on the balance of the space, how much green space there is, how that's getting used versus what the different walkability patterns are, different metrics such as that. And more explicitly, our objectives are to investigate the demographics of each location, to evaluate the public space and its overall impact on its surrounding community, and to analyze how the art, such as the sculptures, impact the space itself and the overall community within Shkodër. So going from left to right, we have Peruka Square. That is our biggest location at roughly 15,000 square meters, which I think is 160,000 square feet, loosely. It is in the center of Shkodër. It has fountains and a lot of furniture, such as like benches or tables, as well as some public art. Isa Bolatini Park is also roughly in the center of Shkodër, and it is mainly surrounded by heavily traveled roads. And the park is centered around the statue of Isa Bolatini, which was earlier on in our presentation. Isa Bolatini was an important figure to the Albania gaining independence from the Ottoman Empire in the early 1900s. Next is Vasokaria Park, and this park is different in layout. It's more closed off. It is a neighborhood park, not as much like a centrally traveled location. So that'll be good in comparing how a more closed off space is used compared to the more open ones, such as the other three. And then the Park of the Abu Bakr Mosque is our second biggest at roughly 8,000 square meters. And it is surrounding the mosque. And this one is especially important as it has been proposed to go under renovation in the coming time. So our analysis that we conduct will directly impact how they choose to renovate this space going forward.
When we arrive in Shkodër, we will be going into the public spaces purely to observe. Look at how people move through the public space. Look at how people interact with the features in the public space. Is everyone crowded around a unique sculpture? Are they surrounded in some green space, some green area? What does the community really need in their public space, and what do they actually use in their public space? And then stepping into that, we'll be looking at why do people use the public space. And this will be done through semi-structured interviews. See if the space has any like deep personal meaning to them, or if the public space is purely a way to get from to work. Looking further into this, we will also be seeing like how do people move around the public space. Do they cut right straight through to where they're going through the public space, or maybe it has some religious meaning that they don't want to tie themselves to, and they maybe might go around the public space. How do you make this accessible to other people?
So as we get to Albania, we'll be looking at this kind of as our key timeline. So the first few days we will be there, we will be finalizing our plan with our sponsors. Because we are 2 hours away, we do have to have a very detailed itinerary of when we're going to go up and when we're going to be collecting data. So hopefully our first full week there, we will be collecting observational data up in Shkodër. This includes kind of what Zach was talking about, kind of how are people using the space, what are they doing, also kind of counting traffic, seeing like what pedestrian foot traffic is like and how many people are coming in and out of these parks. The next week we're hoping to go up and conduct interviews with our translators, so hoping to get 15 to 20 interviews in each different location, and then kind of spending the rest of our time analyzing our data and putting it into a deliverable.
Next, we have our limitations. So we have 3 main limitations as we conduct our research in Albania. Like Sarah just said, for the first 2 weeks or so, we intend to have observational data, and then the week after that, we intend to conduct interviews. The cultural and language barrier that we're going to run into with the interviews is not what you might think of at first. So obviously, they're going to be speaking Albanian. We do not speak Albanian. We will have translators to help us understand that. But where the cultural and language barrier comes into play is the smaller, more niche things, such as the idioms, the cultural expressions, the smaller stories that we Americans might not understand because we're foreigners, but them, as Albanians, it makes complete sense to them. And that matters because as we go back to analyze the data, we might misinterpret what they're trying to tell us. The second constraint is the ethical and privacy constraint. We'll be working with WPI's IRB, which is the Institutional Review Board. And this is essentially the rules and regulations for our research. Again, we conduct interviews probably around our 3rd week. We'll be collecting data in forms of photos, audio, and video. Because of our IRB, we need to get the consent of the people that we interview, and if they either do not consent or at any time withdraw their consent to use their photo, video, or audio, that will take away the amount of data that we have access to. And this matters because we might have deliverables such as a photo ethnography book or a short form documentary. And obviously for a photo book, we need photos, and then for the documentary, we need video, and these might be constrained. Finally, we have the time and scope limitations. So as I said before, we'll be going to Shkodër, which is 2 hours away from Toronto capital, which essentially means that anytime we go there is a 2 hours there, 2 hours back, which takes 4 hours out of the amount of time we can study. Take, for example, 9 to 5, people leave for work at 9, they come back at 5. Because of the time limitation, we might only be there from 10 to 3, so we might miss a large chunk of observational data that we'd otherwise need to have. And then also in terms of weather, because we're outside in public spaces, weather might also kind of create a bias or limitation to the types of data that we might collect.
Our project will produce 4 detailed case studies of different public spaces selected by Go2Albania. They are all pictured here, and they have been the pictures you have seen throughout this presentation. Each study will combine 3 main elements: spatial analysis, which is looking at the layout, accessibility, and urban design; historical context, is kind of looking at how the space has been used, like in history; and then user behavior, how is the space used today, how are people interacting with this space. To capture this, we'll be using urban mapping and digital documentation, specifically photographs, sketches, and field notes. We'll also conduct behavioral observations, such as tracking how the spaces are used at different times. The visual and analytical outputs will be consolidated into an analytical map that will be connected to Go2Albania's public art inventory to help kind of figure out how these public spaces are used in context of their public art. All of this will come together with our on-the-street interviews to get kind of how the people actually are feeling about this space. All this will come together in a report to Go2Albania to help further their initiatives. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. We're refraining from questions tonight due to time. Great work. Nicely done.